It doesn't have to be all about books on your social media, your reels. They want to learn about what's important to you so that they can find commonalities. You can find things that are relatable, that you share, hobbies, interests, pets. And then they also want to learn what makes you unique. So people want to see your cute orange cat, or, Jen camps. Camping might not necessarily have to do with her writing, but highlighting it, creating a reel, sharing that that's important to her, I think is really, really beautiful and can let readers in on you and your life. Favorite tropes. I love Bessie's post as well. This is where my OCD comes into, not my OCD. This is where I share about my OCD and let readers know that that's something that's important to me. It's also something that I incorporate in my writing. But even if it wasn't, I think that it's really, really impactful for readers to see that. So how can we apply this? What I'm doing when I'm not writing, talk about your hobbies, why I write. I think that's such a cool one. A tour of your writing space, what's on your desk, a day in your life. And I do want you to consider too, nothing is off limits, but definitely only share what you're comfortable with, what you are comfortable with other people knowing, and highlighting. And I will say that the first time that you share, you get a vulnerability hangover. It's really easy to feel like you're putting too much of yourself out there. And if you do post a reel where you share something that's very personal, you can always delete it. It's not there forever. So that's just something to consider. But I will say that the first time I shared about my OCD, it was really, really overwhelming. I didn't know how people would receive it, but it's gotten a lot easier with time and people receive it very well. And if they don't, then they're not my people.
I'm so glad that you said that, Saleema, because it's so true. Like that was the next thing on the tip of my tongue, was to mention the vulnerability hangover. And there is a very like nuanced difference I've found between sharing something that is vulnerable, that maybe you weren't quite ready to share, and that maybe you were sharing for the wrong reason. And what I mean by wrong reason is like to get those likes, to get those followers, to get that uh, the dopamine hit from feeling like, oh, I do belong, but you're putting your value into the hands and approval of those strangers on the internet. And that's where you would feel like that guilt and that shame and that real, just like that icky feeling, like hours after, when you maybe don't see the likes coming in, you don't see the encouraging comments. And so now you're almost going through like a dopamine like withdrawal, which feels like even worse. And so there's like sharing for that reason. Okay. And we've all done it. We've all felt that feeling, because we're human and we want to connect with people and we want to feel seen and we want to belong. So sharing that isn't wrong. I'm sharing this in order to show that like very like it's so nuanced that like you share what's really personal, but maybe in order to get the approval of others. And when that does or doesn't happen, you put yourself in this really vulnerable place, where you don't know if you're going to be held. Okay. So the other side, though, is sharing something that you know is true, that regardless of the opinion of others will remain true, and you can still stand in that truth, regardless of what others will say or not say. And by sharing that, you are going just outside your comfort zone. And so it feels uncomfortable. And you might feel that vulnerability. But at the end of the day, if you don't get the response that maybe you were either hoping for or expecting, you're still okay, because you can trust that maybe in the future, somebody who's struggling with the same thing that you just posted about, you're like, okay, so that person didn't see that today, but I do feel like I needed this post to show up when I was Googling about it. And so I'm going to be that post that shows up for somebody when they need it. And I can like tolerate this discomfort right now. So I hope that you can see the difference in that. One is seeking the approval of others. The other is in a servant heart, where you're saying like, this is uncomfortable, but it's important. And I want to serve somebody else who might be going through something similar. Okay. Thanks for letting me put that little 2 cents in.
Yeah, no, that was beautifully put. Perfect. And I agree wholeheartedly.